Hello, this tutorial is to show you how your grade is calculated in your Math 1 or Math 2 class, and also how to look at your grade in Infinite Campus. So in Math 1 and Math 2, your grade is calculated by looking at the three competencies. Competency 1, creating mathematical representations. Competency 2, mathematical reasoning. And Competency 3, procedural fluency. Under Competency 1, we break that down into two different proficiencies, creating symbolic representations and creating visual and numerical representations. In Competency 2, mathematical reasoning, that is broken down into two proficiencies, identifying key features and supporting or justifying your reasoning, and identifying key features and interpreting them in context. Competency 3 is broken down into two proficiencies, writing equivalent expressions and evaluating expressions, and solving equations and inequalities. Throughout the year, you will be given assessments on specific learning objectives that fall within each of these 6 proficiency indicators. Each of those learning objectives will be graded using a grading scale of a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 0. 4 being advanced proficiency, 3 demonstrate proficiency, 2 approaching proficiency, and 0 limited to no evidence. Your teacher will further explain the rubric that will be used to determine your score. Now I'm going to go over how we actually calculate your grade. So in this chart right here, I have a bunch of scores already inputted. Each of these scores represents a score on a specific learning objective under each proficiency. So what this means is under Proficiency 1, which was creating symbolic representations, you took 6 tests. So this is probably halfway or more through the school year. What we're going to do is we're going to take these 6 scores, add them up, divide by 6 to find the average to come up with a proficiency score of 2.67. Then under Proficiency 1B, which is creating visual and numerical representations. These are 5 assessments that you took. We're going to add up these 5 scores, divide by 5 to get the average of 2.40. These are each of your scores in your proficiencies. We're going to take those proficiency scores, add them up, divide by 2 to find the average, and that's going to give me a competency score of 2.54. So that means in Competency 1, creating mathematical representations, I have a 2.54, which means if I come down to my grading scale, a 2.54 would fall right here, which means I have a C level of understanding in Competency 1. Using our rubric or our grading field here, that means I'm pretty much between approaching and demonstrating proficiency. I'm not quite at that demonstrating proficiency phase. This is going to continue in each of the 6 proficiencies. You're going to take learning objectives. We're going to average them to get your proficiency score. We average the learning objectives to get the proficiency score. Then we take those proficiencies and average them to get the competency score. Average the objectives to get the proficiency. Average to get the proficiency. We take the 2 proficiencies and we average those to get our competency score. This gives us a nice snapshot of what we understand or don't understand, or maybe our strengths and weaknesses in our math class. So if I look at my 3 competencies, I can see that my strength is right here in Competency 2, which is my mathematical reasoning, where maybe my weakness is right here in Competency 3, procedural fluency. So I know I need to work on my procedural fluency, but I'm really good at explaining and justifying my reasoning. To determine your overall grade, we're going to take these 3 competencies, add them up and divide by 3 to get an average score of, in this case, a 2.69. And if I come down to my grading scale, a 2.69 means I would end with a C in the class. Remember, this is a year-long class, so this grade is not final until next May. Now I wanted to quickly go over what this would look like in the gradebook. So if you log into Infinite Campus, on your home page, you're going to see a bunch of stuff, including like assignments due, and this is going to be for all of your classes. So this is a pretty overwhelming page. I encourage you to come over here to where on the left, where it says grades. Click on that. Make sure you're in quarter 2. This is going to show your grades for all your classes. So I'm going to scroll down here to, in this case, Math 2. So this will just give you a snapshot of each of the things that we were talking about. Now, these scores are different than that chart, and that's okay. I can still explain it to you. All right, so when I first look, this right here is your course grade, the 2. Remember, how is that course grade calculated? It's calculated by averaging this competency grade with this competency grade and this competency grade. The competencies, for example, competency 1, this 1.7 was determined from averaging these 2 proficiencies. This competency grade, 2.5, was determined by averaging these 2 competency grades. The 1.9 competency, that was determined by averaging these 2, 2.3 and 1.5. What I recommend you do always when you log in is, instead of looking at this page, where it says Math 2 course grade, click on this little arrow, and that's going to let us dive a little bit deeper. So we can see my Math 2 course grade is a 2, made up of my competency, 1.7, and that is made up from these proficiencies right underneath it. Under any of the proficiencies, you can click on this plus sign and dive deeper. And this is going to let you see your scores on each of your learning targets. If you get, remember the grading scale is a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 0. If you have a 0, your teacher should be putting some type of comment here so that you know why you received a 0 on an assessment. So I can dive deeper into this proficiency right here. The last thing I want to show you is if you scroll all the way to the bottom where it says semester grade. Remember, everything you do to get a grade is important, but the only thing that actually affects your grade are your learning objective assessments that you take. But that doesn't mean that all those formative assignments, homework assignments, class assignments aren't important too. So under semester grade, there's this category called formative, and notice it says not included in the grade calculation. This is a place for your teacher to record scores on any of the assignments that you do in class or for homework. So I'm going to expand this and give you a little snapshot. So you can see I put in a few homework assignments. Teachers can give you a score on those homework assignments, mark them missing. This is just a place to communicate feedback and engagement in the class. Remember, this score does not affect your overall grade. However, it does give really important feedback. So if you're not doing so well in the class and this score is very low or there's a lot of missing, that kind of tells us maybe why. All right. Hopefully this tutorial was helpful to you. Thank you.